welcome to In Great Company, the platform where we bring you thought leaders in business to share their journeys, their experiences, and their resources to help you thrive in business. My name is Ramona Cedeno. I'm a CPA. I'm the founder of Fabric, an accounting practice based in New York City, helping companies in technology and professional service sectors. Since we are celebrating Women History Month, I thought I would bring you a special episode. And we have today the Wonder Women in Business, stories of passion and impact. And I'm joined by four of the amazing women in my life. Only four. I couldn't invite any more, otherwise, we'll be here for 3 hours. And these women are not only business owners and entrepreneurs, but they're also using their passion to create impact for themselves, the women in their lives, and their communities. I have Irma Cedeno, who is an educator. She also happens to be my sister. She's an educator, a linguist, a culture and strategist, and the founder of an e-learning startup based in New York City, Diafano. She's also the designer and owner of a skirt brand called Main Couture. I also have Jennifer Yousem, who is a fractional CFO and the founder of I Love EBITDA. I love the name. And also, she brings her operational expertise to help companies, small companies and mid-sized companies with their bookkeeping and all financial issues. She's an outsourced CFO and outsourced controller. I have Rose, and Rose, I am not going to try to pronounce your name. Please do it when it's your turn. But I have Rose, who is a serial entrepreneur, growth strategies expert, and founder of Nectar Digital Group, where she helps startups and small businesses grow and scale by helping them transform their brands. And Tuesday Brooks is the trusted tax advisor and accounting advisor and the founder of AJoy. She's committed to improving profitability for micro and small business enterprises. Welcome, lady. Thank you so much for being here with me in great company.
Yes, thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. So, I want to start by asking each one of you to tell us how your passion creates impact for you and your community. Just a little bit, because I have a ton of questions for you. And I'm just going to start in alphabetical order of your names. It's not favoritism. I have to start with Irma because her name is the first one on the line. Irma, tell us about your story.
Thank you, Ramona. So happy to be here. I'm Irma Cedeno. I'm the founder and CEO of Diafano. Diafano is an e-learning platform that makes it easier for companies, schools, and individuals to actually learn a second language and create meaningful changes through language learning. We do this through online classes in a group setting, one-on-one, and also through a video membership program. Languages are my passion. I learn languages. I've also taught languages. I was an adjunct at NYU. I travel the world teaching languages as well. So this is how I took my passion and turned it into a business.
Jennifer.
Well, I'm just one of those people that has always been drawn to numbers. They make sense to me. I love them. They never lie. So I have taken that passion and love for finance and brought it into, my corporate career, and then pivot that into really helping small and medium-sized businesses, because I don't feel like they get as much financial support, and they should have all the bells and whistles that big companies get. So
Thank you. Rose? And please, Rose, tell us your beautiful last name also.
My name is Rose Desauguste. Thanks again for having me. So I run Nectar Digital Group that is part branding agency and part consultancy. I help small businesses get to the next stage of growth with branding and growth strategy, digital strategy, automation. And my passion really is helping people thrive. I love to see other people thrive. And so what I do in my company is I first get to know people. I'm very interested. I'm very passionate about people in general. I studied psychology in college and then studied behavioral neuroscience. So my thing has always been a fascination with people. And so a huge part of my work as a brand strategist is actually getting to know the business owner. And from there, I get to be creative, which is another one of my passions. I get to be creative and help them best express who they are online, and then that translates to actual business value. So that's just a little bit about how my passions translate into my business.
Thank you, Rose. Tuesday.
Yes. So, Joy, we support women led businesses with sound financial management. And so I've been fortunate enough to combine two of my favorite things, and that is education with accounting and numbers. And I like what you said, Jennifer, that numbers don't lie, right? So I've been able to take these two skill sets and turn it into a very viable business. And so what we focus on though is profitability and getting our clients to understand where and when they become profitable and what they should be looking for in terms of longevity with their business. So that, isn't it? It's who I am. So it just came naturally.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. You all have such amazing stories. I know each one of you personally, and I'll tell a little bit more about my experiences with you as we go. Irma, you're my sister, my dear sister, my baby sister, and we spent hours and hours talking. I know you very well, and I want you to share some of your experiences as a business owner when it comes to finding time for you, finding what some people call me time. I think you refer to it as off time. How is this so important to the success of our businesses, but also to our well-being?
Thank you, Ramona. So I think it's so important. First of all, it's always me time in my world, no matter what. But I definitely think it's so important to always remember, why do we start a business, right? And for most of us, it's something like we wanted financial freedom. We wanted the freedom to be our own boss, to choose how we spend our time. And although it's one thing what you dream, and another thing what actually happens. Once I started my business, it was very important to me to just keep my priorities straight. And I feel like the more time I spend on me, the more off time I give to myself, the more creative I become, the more energized I become, and that all trickles down to my business. I'm a world traveler. I love languages. I love cultures. So for me, that passion for language is really what turned into a business. And I think it would be a complete disservice to not continue to honor that as I grow. Um, I definitely think that perhaps had I been investing 100-hour weeks into my business, I perhaps would have grown faster. But that's not what I went into business for. I went into business for the long haul and to really take care of myself first. We always talk about paying yourself first, but we don't talk as much about taking care of yourself first, like giving yourself that. My friend says something very important, which is she doesn't want to live on the weekends, you know? So that's how I live my life. I don't want to live on the weekends. I want every day to be a great experience. And I what makes my business still, even as it continues to grow, and it keeps me energized.
Thank you, Irma. And if you ever tried, if Irma invites you anywhere or to her home and you say, I don't have time, I'm too busy, she's gonna be like, come on, what are you talking about? She's always available. She doesn't let the business control her. And in my book that's coming out soon, Simple Choices, Big Rewards in Money, I have a little story about her where I saw that this was her way of living when she was 16. And you'll see, Lenny, Irma, I call her Lenny. Irma, when you see this story, you'll remember that day. It's going to bring back a lot of memories. Thank you so much for sharing that. If I remember one day I was going through a hard time with the business, and I was like, Irma, I don't know why I feel like I have so much going on, and sometimes I'm breathing and it's heavy. And she was like, let's start meditating. Let's start meditating. Why don't you meditate every morning? And Rose, you told me the same thing. But Irma was the one who got me into meditating every morning 2 years ago, and I followed the advice. So really, she's someone that is a great example of balancing a thriving business with your personal life in a very nice way. Thank you, Irma. Jennifer, you and I have a lot in common when it comes to our businesses. We have similar businesses, similar staff, similar clients, similar problems when it comes to cleaning messy books.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, right? When I have a big accounting problem, bookkeeping problem, I'll call Jennifer sometimes, and she has a lot of experience seeing a lot of this. Just like Tuesday also. Uh, Give us the Jennifer's perspective on entrepreneurship, because you could refer to it as the whack-a-mole
Yeah.
entrepreneurship whack-a-mole, and
Entrepreneurial whack-a-mole is what it
guacamole,
is.
yes, guacamole, guacamole.
Mhm.
So thank no, I like to hear your perspective, how you describe it, because you have a very interesting way of thinking about businesses. Anytime I call it, it's like you describe it so it's amazing. But tell us.
I mean, first of all, I need to take a page out of Irma's book, I think, because I need more. I need more me time. Um, I describe it as entrepreneurial whack-a-mole because I feel like, it's like that game that, that arcade game where you kind of finally solve one problem and then all of a sudden, like another one pops up over here. And it rotates through. Like you may be having a client one problem one day and you solve it, then you have an employee problem the next, and you work on solving that. And the next day, maybe it's a personal problem, but it is a constant balancing act of just trying to keep all the balls in the air at the same time. And it's one of the reasons, again, Irma, kind of remembering your why. Why did you go on this journey? Why did you decide? Because I wanted to be in control of all that. So I have to remember that sometimes, because sometimes it feels like it's controlling me. But yeah, it says constantly feels like you're just whacking something to fix it.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I met Jennifer through Irma. Irma and yes, you ladies met at an event, and the next day, Irma and I talk all the time. And when we start talking, it's like hours. I She said, "You have to meet Jennifer. You have so much in common." And we met. Jennifer and I met. We went for ramen
Ramen.
noodles. Ramen
Yeah.
noodles.
I was obsessed with Irma's skirt.
Yes, the skirts,
We met.
and we have been in contact and friends since then. And I love talking to you, as you know. And we have a group. We're part of a group that you started, and we spend more and more time there too. So
Yeah.
you always have a lot great advice to share. Um, Rose, Rose is my branding strategist and my growth strategy. Rose and I have been working together for over 2 years now, and it has been an amazing experience. And I also text and call Rose when I have an idea or when I'm frustrated with something that I want to do and I can't get it to work. So Rose is a techie, and she's an expert in marketing and building partnerships. She knows a little bit about everything, but an amazing marketing strategist. And I love her work, and everything that you see on our social media accounts, newsletters, that's all Rose's expertise. Rose, in the time that we have been working together, I noticed that, and you mentioned this earlier, that value alignment is a big factor when you choose your clients, which makes me feel very special. Thank you. How can we build values-driven businesses, and why do you think this is such an important component for our success?
That's a great question. Well, I believe that business is an extension of who we are. Nothing we do is separate from us. And so it starts with the brand, right? Like you have to know who you are, you have to know what you stand for, you have to know what your values are. And what Irma was saying earlier is you have to know why you started the business in the first place, and you have to stay true to that. And one of the things that I see a lot is sometimes people are afraid to take a stand and say, this is who I am, world. Like this is what I stand for, and these are my values. But it's like the number one rule for actually doing something that's meaningful and worthwhile. And it's also important because when things get hard, when the business gets hard, like what keeps you going when you're burned out, what keeps you going, and it's your values, and it's making sure that you're doing something that is an extension of you, of what you care about, and that translates to everywhere in the business, the way you treat your employees, the way you treat yourself. the people that you work with. I remember the first time that I had to turn down a client. And it was early on in my business, and it was the potential for like a big project, like a lot of money. And I was working with a business coach at the time who was saying, so how does this person align with this that you said that you believe in? How does this person align with that thing? But I'm like, but I need the money, so I think I'm just gonna go with it. And she was like, Rose, no. No, this is going to get old really quickly. And so since that time, it's super important to me in terms of who I work with. And I don't have a specific, I used to say early on that I focus primarily on impact based businesses. But now I just kind of do like my own vetting process when I'm choosing who to work with, making sure that they're good people. They're going to treat me nicely. They're going to treat their clients nicely. And when they do grow, that they're not hurting the world, but they're actually like creating solutions to help other people. And so it's super, super duper important. And I think everything in business starts there.
And you can tell, like Rose, anytime I talk to her and she talks about her clients or her project, she's very excited about what she's working on, and it shows that she goes through a good process to select her projects and clients, and something that we in finance probably need to learn a little from. Thank you, Rose. Tuesday, I met you, and before I go to Tuesday, Rose and I also met at a networking event in Hudson Yards a few years ago. But Tuesday, you and I met at a networking event that we attended. It was hosted by WNYC, Women Entrepreneurs in New York City. Yes. Oh, yes. And when I met you, what I liked so much about you, like why we clicked so quickly, is that I have always admired this in you. There was not any sign of fear of competition ever with you. Is like, and Jennifer is the same way. But Tuesday, that day, you were like, I can send you business. There are things I don't do what I want to do, and you were like, let's work together. And we have always had that type of relationship. And Jennifer is exactly the same way, and that's why we are here. But Tuesday, on day one, you were like, right away, you were willing to share, and I admired that of you in you so much. We do a lot of the similar work in tax and accounting. We deal with the same type of issues: revenues and profits and payables and the clients and the tax returns that need to be filed in 2 days. So we share a lot of that when we speak. And you mentioned before how you focus so much on making sure that your clients see what true profits are to them. And I would like for you to tell us what, in your opinion, is true profitability.
Yes. So before I answer, I want to say thank you for your words. And that is true. I am all about us working together, especially women in the same space. There's enough room in the sky for all of us to fly. And you've brought so much value to my business, just even in our conversations when we're having a difficult time with certain clients. And I'm sure it's the same for you and Jennifer's relationship. So there's strength in numbers in the way we do it. So yes, I look at competitors as people what people call competitors. I don't use that word. There's others who do what I do. That's it. And we need to work together. So in terms of profitability though, clients may come to us for bookkeeping or tax work or something like that. But what's just important is the vision for the business. What do you intend to do? Because if you are going to grow beyond, a side hustle, then we have to think about where you're going and when and if you become profitable. So we have to think about all the things. When is it that you're covering all of your operating expenses? When is it when you're able to pay all of your taxes? When is it when you're paying yourself as a business owner? You need a salary. Otherwise you have like this really fun and expensive hobby if you're not paying yourself. Are you covering yourself with health insurance? You have to have health insurance. If you're not getting it from somewhere else, you need to be paying for a policy for yourself and or your employees. And do you have a retirement fund? Okay, those are the basic things that you need to have established in your business before you have $1 left over and say, I am a profitable business. Then we can have the conversations about how to hire or how to hire more. So that is what profitability is. It's paying your operating, your taxes, your salary, your health insurance, and your retirement. And if you really want to get sophisticated, you'll have an investment account for the business as well as for you personally, right? To include savings. So that is my soapbox about profitability.
Yes, and you heard it. It's not just that little bottom line on the P&L income statements. It's beyond that. So it's important to understand what true profits mean. I want to give each one of you the opportunity to chime in. If you any of what the other lady said sound resonated with you, feel free to comment. I think that each one of you has so much value to bring, and I'm so happy that we are all together. And I want to make sure that if someone said an interesting point that sounds interesting to you, that you also can comment on that. So you can
Tuesday, I will echo what you said. I come from a place of abundance and really feel like, you know, as much as we can talk about our businesses being somewhat commoditized, you know, Ramona and I have spent a lot of time talking about this. It's really a personality business. And if it's not a good fit for me, or I don't have capacity or something like that, my biggest referral partners are this amazing group of women that Ramona referenced before. We all do the same thing in some way, shape, or form. We touch people's finances. And, you know, when people ask me, they'll say, I can't believe your peers are your biggest referral sources. I'm like, they are, and they're my support group, and they're the people I cry to, and they're the people that help me solve my problem. They're my everything. So I do think, you know, no knock to the men in the audience, but I do think that that falls more to women and women's groups of kind of lifting and holding each other up.
Yes. Agreed. And Rose, what you were saying about valuing, you know, paying attention to your values and the values of your clients to see if it's a good fit. Thankfully, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that. Sometimes some slip in though, you know, you realize after the fact. But for the most part, yeah, we've been true to that and very selective, and had to, you know, either, you know, turn down a client or, you know, terminate a relationship with a client, because that is important to us. Having businesses that are sustainable and make us happy, right? As business owners, we want to be able to love on the people that we work for and with, you know, and partner with for their businesses. And you just can't do that if there's any type of resentment or, you know, bitterness. So
Absolutely. And I think all of us are service-based, and that's even more important to make sure your values align, because you'll be spending your actual time, like time out of your life, working with this client and helping this person become more successful. So I think it's super, super important.
Irma, very kind of late, but never. I finally figured out about that balance that you're talking about. Kind of late, but I did it. I did it. I go voting regularly, and I'm also carving out time. I just recently learned that I don't literally have to work on the tax deadline, so I'm not. I get to make that choice, right? You're not going to drive me crazy on these tax deadlines. So we are stopping before, and then we'll resume after vacation. So thank you for your affirmation of taking time for ourselves and traveling.
Yes, it's something
It's
that
like Jennifer was saying, right? I'm sorry. It's like what Jennifer was saying before about how you own the business or the business owns you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I also that even
maybe this exercise wasn't a good idea, but I'm loving it. No, go ahead, Rose.
yeah, I to what Ira was saying, even the thing, I travel a lot as well. And the thing is, even as I was traveling, and to what you were saying Tuesday, that I would still be working. So I'd be traveling somewhere in an exotic place, like in the middle of the jungle or something, and still be working. And I think my mindset was, oh, if I don't work, if I don't get this done, the world is going to end. And finally, I said, you know what? Let me just take 2 weeks off for myself to just fully travel and fully be there without having to worry about work. And I came back. The world did not end. My business was just fine. It was nothing was on fire. Everything was fine.
Amazing.
Isn't it amazing, like how little emergencies there actually are?
Yep.
Like in our head, we think that if we actually step away from our business for a few weeks, that there are going to be so many emergencies. And granted, there have been times that I've been in Mexico and I got a phone call about someone dying and all that. But most of the time,
But that's an
things run pretty
actual
smooth without
emergency,
you.
Yeah.
right? Like that's an actual emergency.
It
That
was
is
probably
an
was
actual emergency. Exactly.
it probably wasn't someone close, right? It wouldn't be.
No, it wasn't someone close, but it did actually disturb the order of the classes.
Mhm.
And it's just so interesting because the times I do completely disconnect, and then when I step back in and I see that nothing has happened, I'm like, am I even needed here? Right? Like everything is completely fine. So that's always a pleasant surprise.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for interacting, and I will continue with some of the questions that I have to for you. Irma, you talked about off time, finding me time, and this might be related, but I think it deserves its own place in this discussion, which is mental health. We have a huge issue right now in this area, in entrepreneurs, non-entrepreneurs, everyone. But as business owners, how can we prioritize our mental health, and what are some ways that we can take care of it?
Yeah, so I definitely think this is super important, and it's really unfortunate that it's only when we realize that there's a problem that we actually start to nurture this aspect of ourselves. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with having that support system around you, right? Like really having people around you who have your back, and that's your family and your friends. But it's also about really finding things, at least for me, finding things that really nourish my soul. I found a spiritual practice. I don't consider myself to be religious, but I do have a practice that I follow every day. And I find that the only way for me to have a day that's pretty smooth, irrespective of the different things that might come my way and the different fires I might have to put out, is by actually following my practice. And that consists of meditation. I make sure that I meditate. I make sure that I read, that I take time to really breathe and to really visualize. And all these things happen before my workday actually starts. I lived in Japan, and I remember living there and being very alone and feeling very isolated because I didn't speak the language. And when I started my actual practice of really taking time for me and doing things that felt good to me, like exercise, taking care of myself physically and mentally, that's really when I started to thrive. And that's helped me to just sustain myself through times that have not been as easy.
Thank you, Irma. And she does not deviate from her routine. We travel, and we we wake up early, and I'm like, Irma, hello, good morning, and she's not talking to me. I'm like, did she wake up in a bad mood today? But she's really like taking her meditation, her writing, and her seriously, and she does not give it away for or up for anyone. So there is a lot to learn there, because when I tried that, I think about the 20 things that I have in my to-dos, right, Jennifer? And it's like,
Oh,
I need to
always,
reply to all my clients.
always.
Yes. So something I'm really trying to practice and get better at. Jennifer, one thing, you are a fractional CFO, but you also bought a franchise that provides bookkeeping services. And I thought that when I met you, and not you not being an accountant or a CPA, I found that to be a very interesting way to supplement, complement your services. How do you important do you think this is for business survival to have complementary services for your clients, and also by doing that you're generating various revenue streams?
Yeah, I mean, I as a just a matter of generalities, I always think it's good for businesses to have diversified revenue streams. Never know, where the world is going to take you and how that's going to affect your business. But for me personally, what I realized when I started doing CFO consulting was there are only 24 hours in the day, no matter how hard I try. And there's only so much you can charge per hour. And I don't care how good you are, what the market will bear. So eventually you're going to max out at whatever that is. And in thinking about how I wanted to design my life and what I wanted to do, I definitely wanted an opportunity to be able to not have to be working 24 hours a day to get to the number that I wanted to get to. And, in theory, the idea of having, a firm that offers bookkeeping and controller work, through my business, Supporting Strategies Queens, it's super helpful because so many clients come to me for CFO and advisory work, can't really do it on those books that look like a hot mess. So it's nice to be able to refer that internally. It's much easier for me to manage it. And also, again, in thinking about what my ideal life will be, if you're a consultant, there's no such thing as passive income. So the idea of being able to own a firm that can scale without my direct involvement one day, is really something that I am working hard to build.
Yes, I think that every time when I do the math, number of hours times rate times days, I'm like, okay, how am I going to grow this revenue, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to a lot of consultants and a lot of solopreneurs who come to me for business advice, and it's a pretty popular conversation. Like, if you charge by the hour, or even if you charge by the project or a retainer base, there's still only X amount of hours in a day. And even if you were, a robot who didn't have to sleep, there's still only 24 of them. So it's pretty, I don't know, say pretty easy math to do. And, you can only control, you can control your expenses and can try to control your revenue. It's pretty hard. But, as Tuesday said, there's got to be some profitability there, and the tax man cometh. So, there's that as well. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. I would like Irma to comment on that because Irma, you have with Diafano, you transition from in person to virtual, but not only that, you transition to creating online courses. Was the intention to have passive income or to diversify your revenue, or both?
Oh, it was definitely both. We definitely wanted to offer clients something in addition to the classes that they already had. So we wanted to give them a supplement, but we also realized that there were people who weren't able to afford our classes but wanted to access our method. And within that, I also wanted something that just kind of lived on its own, because when you're working for dollars, which is essentially what you do in a service business, you always have the human factor in there, human emotions, staff that go through certain issues, emergencies, different situations. And for me, once the product is created, which the product is hard to build, but once it's created, it's there and it lives on its own. So I definitely also wanted to have passive income.
And how did you also created this line of beautiful skirts? You ladies have to check them out, Main Couture. I'm doing some promo for you, Irma. That's
Thank
completely completely different from your e-learning business. No relationship, or maybe
Right.
there is from your perspective, but how did what was all that about, that transition into something so different?
Right. Well, my mother is a designer, and when we were kids, she always made clothes for us, and they were beautiful. And when we came to the United States from the Dominican Republic, my mother actually used to sell the skirts and have them sell clothes, not skirts at that point, and have them displayed at different stores in Washington Heights. So fashion was kind of always in my blood. And I'm really a person that believes in going after the things that nourish your soul and that are going to make you happier. So if you tell me that you want to write a book, I'm going to be like, well, why haven't you written it? Like, why aren't you writing that book right now? And if you tell me I need more time for me, I'm going to be like, well, the time is there. There's 24 hours in a day. Find it. So the same thing happened with fashion. I love fashion also, and I wanted to create something beautiful. And I realized they there there's a huge emphasis on pants and dresses, but no one was focusing on skirts. It's kind of like a second class citizen, and I wanted to create that, and I wanted to create that with my mother. So that's something I'm very proud of, just for the fact that I honored what I wanted.
Amazing, very amazing. And of course, I know the story, but I never get tired of hearing it. Rose, you have pivoted a few times in your career. You went to school for one thing and you switched. Your business is constantly evolving for the better. But every time we do that, my assumption is that we're taking some risks and we're leaving the safe paths and for something that we don't know where it's going to lead us. How do you do that, and how do you advise people do that without feeling fear of leaving the unknown for something that might be a little too risky?
Hmm. Well, I don't think we have a choice. I think one of the most important skills that we'll need moving forward for the next few decades is the ability to thrive through change. I think it's going to be the most important, one of the most important skills by far. The ability to be adaptable, to be able to reinvent yourself as many times as it takes. And like Irma was saying, something that's super important to me is following my passions, and I'm passionate about a few different things. And I look at my life as an experiment, right? Because by the end of it, I want to make sure if I'm when I'm lying on my deathbed, like, yeah, that was great. Like I did everything that I wanted to do. I took risk. I followed my heart all the way through. And so when you're fulfilled in your own life and when you're not limiting yourself, then you can be more effective in everything else that you do. And I think so one of the first risks, big risks that I took, career change. I quit. I was studying to be a doctor. Got my master's, and then was studying to be a doctor. And I realized, wow, this is really not for me. I admire what doctors do, and I love it, but it's really not for me. And so I quit medical school without a plan B. And because at that point I knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew that what I would regret it for the rest of my life if I continued down the path that was not meant for me. And so I was willing to kind of just go to take the risk because for me, there was no other option. Fulfillment was more important to me than anything else. And so, what I would say to people who are afraid of taking big risks like that is when you're 90, 100, 110, however long you live, what will your life be like? What will your last moments be like when you're on your deathbed and you're looking back at your life saying, "Oh, I always wanted to be an artist. I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to start a business. I always wanted to do this, but I didn't do it. But now it's too late." And so that's how I look at it every day. And similar to Irma, I have a spiritual practice too that I practice every day, mindfulness and making sure that I align with myself. And when it comes to navigating change, I love change, which is different from what most people uh, do. But I love change, and I have a process for actually navigating now through my life and through my business. And I talk about this with you a little bit, Ramona, but agility, like implementing agile practices in your life to be more agile in your life and in your business. And even in my own personal life, beyond my business, I practice like a 4-step process to make sure that I'm staying agile. For example, when I want to try something new, I set the goal. I set the goal, and then I check in with myself pretty much every day through like meditation, journaling, breathing exercises, mindfulness exercises. And then after a certain period, I assess how that thing has been working for me. If it's working well, then fantastic. If it's not, what needs to work, what needs to be pivoted, what needs to be changed. And so having a process makes it less scary of a jump. But to me, the scariest thing is being 100 and you're saying, well, I wanted to do all these things and I was too afraid, but now it's too late. So that's what drives me to take the leap.
I love that. I love that. And Irma,
Me
our
too.
grandmother, our grandmother lived to be 100. We're probably going to live a little longer than that.
We're gonna, and it's still going to feel short. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Even if you live to be 90 or 100, life still feels short. And our grandmother, actually our great grandmother, she lived her best life. She was dancing and running when she was very old. So we have some good
Very.
examples.
Yes. I have a question for Tuesday, and then we can all comment on each other's points. Tuesday, you and I and Jennifer, we come across, and maybe Rose too. Not sure about Irma, but we come across clients that will say they do everything. They do the bookkeeping, their accounting, their marketing, everything that they can think of, right? All the hats they can wear. What do you think that do it yourself approach is a total lie and a myth?
Yeah, do it yourself. That's a lie. And and I hope that business owners eventually get to the point where they are not doing it. So uh, it's a natural inclination when you're first starting out, right? Because all the things need to be done, right? So you do as much as you can in the areas where you think that things are important, but it's not sustainable. First of all, is not sustainable to do well, because even if you're capable of doing all of it, there's not enough hours in a day. It's not humanly possible to do it all. And then more importantly than anything else, who's selling? If you're busy building a website, posting to social media, doing the bookkeeping, who is selling, who's bringing in revenue and doing customer service in an excellent way so that you get referrals and bring in more revenue, right? That should be the focus of any business owner ultimately. And we need to really get in the habit of hiring people to do all of those other little things. We got to get over ourselves that we're the only one that can do this. We're the only one that could do it right. That's a lie too. And we certainly should not be doing it all ourselves. Because you can't do it well like that. So yeah, you gotta hire others to do. And it makes sense, right? If you focus on sales and you're generating revenue, now you're growing in your ability to pay others to do these things, right? So, and then that's the whole purpose. So now not only are you empowering yourself and your business, you're empowering others, to handle things for you and to make money, for themselves too.
I don't want to do everything myself. I'm sure Irma doesn't want to do
No.
everything herself.
And Tuesday, you bring up a
Nope,
good
I
point.
delegate as much as possible.
Tuesday, you bring up a really good point. There's also the just because you can doesn't mean you should. I say this all the time. I think I would benefit if I was actually on the receiving end of my financials versus doing them for my own company, because you can't be in the numbers and also take a step back and say, what are the numbers telling me? It's just a very hard thing. And, to your point, I think being self-aware about where your strong suits are, where your time is best spent, how much, and after talking to Tuesday, figuring out how much an hour of your time is worth, and maybe it's better spent having someone else do it. But I'm all for delegating all the things.
Yep.
Rose,
Just
imagine your clients saying they're going to do their own marketing.
And the funny thing is, when you say you're going to do it yourself, let's say it takes you six hours to do something that it would have taken a professional 30 minutes or an hour to do. Imagine how much time that wastes. And but the funny thing is, even if it's something that you do know how to do, for example, for me, I do rebrandings all the time, like can knock them out like this. I actually just launched this new program where I do complete rebrand for clients in 1 week. Literally in 1 week, we just get it done. And it took when I was rebranding my company, it took me 6 months to do it. So exhibit A, why you should not try to do everything yourself.
That is absolutely true. So, ladies, we can continue this conversation forever, as you can see. Next year, I think we had to do one a week, one a day. I want our audience to know how to connect with you, and as you provide that information, we will tag you. This is going to be reposted, reshared, and your social media handles will be tagged. But nothing like hearing it from the source. So tell us how we can connect with you, and any last words that you want to leave our audience with. Sorry, let me. Yeah, what happened to my facilitating skills? I'm ready for lunch. Okay, ladies. Someone should be in charge. Irma, you go. You go first.
Yes, so if you want to get in touch with me, one of the best ways would be social media. The FNO method would be the right one for Facebook and also for Instagram. Actually, Instagram is the FNO underscore method. And I'm so glad I got to spend this time with you ladies. I've learned so much, a lot about accounting, definitely. But thank you so much for today.
And Jennifer?
I mean, again, I am so energized by you women and being around such incredible humans. Just things like this just really give me, again, so much energy and so much life, and remind me of my why. So thank you for bringing that up again, Irma. I appreciate it. It's always good to remember that. Definitely check out my my website, iheartebitda.com. I'm in the middle of a brand refresh, so super excited for the relaunch in April, and you can find me there and find all my blogs and things that I have to say about, you know, why things in finance are ridiculous.
You froze, Ramona, but I think you
Rose?
said me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on, Ramona, and for all you wonderful ladies. It's always, like you're saying, Jennifer, very energizing to be around people of this caliber, you know, not just great business women, but also great people, and getting to talk about how to go through life and business holistically, not just, let's just talk about business strategy, let's just talk about this, but how do you show up as a whole, full human being? So thank you for having me here. And for those who want to reach out to me, my website is nectardx.com, nectardx.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, my first name, my last name.
Yes. I guess it's my turn. Tuesday Brooks. Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn, Tuesday P. Brooks. Our social handle is A Joy Worldwide, AJOY Worldwide. And so if you are looking and listening to this now, that's what it is. If you are watching this in the future, if you do not see that, it will be A Joy Management, because we're actually going through a rebrand as well. It'll likely be A Joy Management. And if you want to check out my videos on YouTube, I do a series of the 8 lies we tell ourselves as business owners. That's at A Joy Media. 8 lies we tell ourselves as business owners. And that's it.
Thank you, ladies. That was amazing. I really enjoyed our conversation. We will make sure to invite you back. We will be back in every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Next episode is going to be on all about making sure that you, as an entrepreneur and business owners, don't neglect your personal finances. It's Financial Literacy Month, so tune in on the second Tuesday of April to hear all about how to make sure that your business stays healthy financially, but that your personal finances are also in check. And thank you, each one of you, for being here. I enjoyed the conversation. I learned so much. And thank you for your support offline also. You ladies make my world a better world. And I cannot imagine not having you in my life. Continue doing what you're doing. Continue creating impact and bringing your passion to everything that you do. And I look forward to just talking to you on screen and off screen, and hopefully give you a hug soon, soon, soon. Thank you and have a great day. Rose, you're gonna say you
No,
can
just
you can thank me. You
thank
can thank me for
you.
having you here.
Yeah,
Of course, I wait on this
that's
side.
Thank you, Ramona. You're amazing. But you already know that.
Of course, you know that
Yes.
I'm not humble at all, right, Rose? You're very welcome. I'll see you soon, ladies. Have a great day.
Bye.
right.
Bye.
This was wonderful. Thank you.